flex and grid, the new the companies uh, or the new pages that they're building or being built using flex again. So this what is a flex box layout? Is flex is like flexible box layout. So whenever you are putting some things in a box, like you want them to be in a particular direction, or you want them to occupy some space and all. So so flex property defines that like how these things are arranged. So you don't need to use floats again. Yesterday I talked about clears to keep the box content, the height and width the same as those of the content inside it. When everything is floating, all these things, pain points will go away if you use flex. So again, so when you want to use flex, it's pretty simple. So there are certain things which you need to understand in flex. So let's start with the. So again, when I said in flex, so there are typically 2 or 3 ways you are arranging items. Either you are arranging in this way or arranging in this way. So the flex property will define so let's see, I put a box here. So again, you can see all the examples here have the same what I say as same HTML code, and the CSS code will be a different. So but the look and feel of these 4 divs is a very bit different. So you can see 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the first box, 4, 3, 2, 1, and this 1, 2, 3, 4 in this direction, and 4, 3, 2, 1 in this direction. So how flex affects? So again, so whatever the container of these divisions or any elements you want to make them flex, for that you need to put display flex. So if you put display flex, all the children inside it will become flex boxes, and they will arrange in certain fashion. But the direction and all you can control using the property called, so I mean, I just put dashed red and all, and then first I use combinators to make them to look in certain fashion so that you can understand. Now for box 1, I put flex direction row. It's not required because the default value is flex direction is row. So even if you don't put this flex direction, so the default arrangement is left to right. So you don't have to. So some of the CSS has some default properties. So even if you don't mention them, default values meaning like whenever you are filling a form, it will have some automatic preference check. So that's the default value. So so that's what most of the properties have. If you want to use the default value, you don't have to mention it. It will automatically be used. So the first one I put a flex direction row. So it is looking in a row fashion. So 1, 2, 3, 4. The second one I put ID2, I put row reverse. So that means all the items inside this 1, 2, 3, 4 will be arranged in a reverse order. So 4, 3, 2, 1 from this side. So basically it puts 1 at the end, 2 at the beside it, 3, 4. So that's what. So the direction you are specifying is row reverse. And again, now the flex direction for box 3 is column. So column is this way, 1, 2, 3, 4, and the flex direction for box 4 is column reverse. So that means that's why you can see 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's the reverse order of the column, and you can see this. Using this, you are able to make without there are no floats, no clears, nothing. You are able to achieve a layout which you will struggle when you want to try to achieve using floats and clears when you are using it for the first time. So it makes things pretty simple. But you should remember flex is one dimension. That means the direction can be either this horizontal or vertical. So it is not 2D, it's a 1D. I hope everyone knows what one dimension is. So when you're saying direction as row, so it puts all elements in this fashion. When you put the direction as row reverse, so it will put the elements in this direction, column is this direction, and column reverse is this direction. So this is what flex does. Again, I will take it. So the next thing we are going to look at is flex wrap. So whenever you made something using flex boxes, so that means there's a chance that these boxes can be big and then they can grow like in this case. So you can see I made both of them the flex boxes. I put really long text inside them. So you can see, but both are looking differently in the things because I played around with one property called flex wrap. So the flex wrap will define whether the flex boxes, if they overflow, should wrap or not. So then I'm saying, I hope everyone knows what wrapping is. Wrapping is like if it's overflowing, it's coming down. Now for box 1, I said no flex wrap, no wrap. That means if the boxes are going out, don't bring them down. So that's why you can see the size becomes adjusted and the text inside it got adjusted. For the second one, I said flex wrap wrap. So that means this is not the wrap for the text, you should understand. So wrapping for the text will look like this. I'm saying the flex wrap is wrap. So the flex boxes, if they're growing, if the content is growing, if it is out of space, it will make it to bring it to new line. If it's no wrap, it will put all the flex items in a single line. So you can see that whatever the small screen size it becomes, they will not come. They will be in a bigger time. So the second boxes you can see based on the size of the screen, they can adjust they can see 3 or 2. Okay, so it actually depends on the use case, on the design use case. If you want the things to go down whenever the screen size is kind of increasing then or decreasing, so you can use wrap then what happens is if the box is bigger, then it goes down. And when if you use no wrap, so you can see as soon as whatever the screen size you take it to, they will not come to new line. So that's one of the things which you should understand. It is controlled by flex wrap. The next one we are going to look at is again, these are all the items specific to flex. If the display is flex only, then these things are applicable. So you should understand that. Okay, so the next one you are going to understand is flex basis. So what flex basis does is, so remember the boxes are having the size of, let's say, whatever the content inside the size is, they are having those much size. But if you want them to have certain size, either it can be pixels or percentages, you can control them using flex basis. So again, I use the same kind of divs and all the things. But the first one, I didn't provide any flex basis, so you can see the boxes, the content is of what they have. But for second ones, using a combinator, I said the flex basis is 100 pixels. That means each one you can see is 100 pixels, and in the same way, if you want to make one box bigger, so let's say I say box 2 and child 3, then I said flex basis 500 pixels. Box 2. So for the box 2 div and child 3, I'm making the flex basis as 500 pixels. You can see this one got bigger. So if you want a particular one, you can do this, or if you want everything to be of same, what I say is same pixels, so you can either use pixels. That means, or if you provide only one value, all will have that same size. Not only that, but what happens with these things is it becomes smaller and this thing, but because it is wrapped, you can see these guys will not honor it because I don't put it as wrap. Now on the third scenario, I put the flex basis as percentage. So this is the case which you can use. Let's say you use all the things as 20, so 60, 80, and then let's say now you want to put the, what I say is the third one as you got 60 and then you got 40. So you can say this is 40%. So it's all about mathematics, 100%. So you don't have to It's box 3. Okay, now you can see this is 40%. The rest of all and so these are pretty flexible, and you can see that these things are being adjusted based on the screen size. So this will flex basis will define how much size it should have. It's good to use percentages unless you want to use like pixels in certain cases like here. I don't know how many of you noticed in the dashboard. This is a fixed size. So irrespective of, I just show you, irrespective of, it's based on the business scenario or business use case. So it mostly doesn't change. The right, you can see the right one being changed, but the left one is fixed. So you can use these kind of things. So when you want a fixed one, you should use pixels. When you want something which is changeable, you can use percentages. So that's what flex basis decides. Now there are two extra properties which you should understand for flex, which will help you to build better layouts. One is flex grow, and then one is flex shrink. I'm going to, what is the flex grow? Yeah. So you should understand whenever you are so whenever you are building flex, there will be always some remaining space if you don't provide flex basis in percentages. So whenever you want the boxes to fill automatically, you can use flex grow. So what flex grow does is, it will, whatever the remaining space it is, it will use that space to fill the existing ones based on the on the value you give. Again, I gave flex boxes the same way, and for only for the second I said flex grow 1. So that means everything except for so all the 1, 3, and 4 have some space. There is some space remaining. So I'm just going to show you. If I don't do flex grow, so you can see there is a space remaining now. There is a space remaining now. If I say flex grow of n type 2, it will take away the whole space remaining. Or if I do and child odd, so you can see the odd ones will occupy the remaining space equally. So that's what it is happening. Now if you want, like in the second scenario, I put all the things as flex grow for all the divs. That means whatever the space that is remaining, all will take away the remaining space. So with this, you can see that but I think so I changed one value. For box 2, I made everything grow 1, but for type 2, that means the second box, I made it grow 3. That means it grows like 3 times more than the other ones. So you can see now it's fine. Now if I put a growth factor of 2, so it is like basic ratios. So whatever the space that is remaining, in what ratio should these guys use those space? So now everyone is using, and this is taking the more ratio. Now if I put like 4, it will take much more space of the remaining space. So that's how it will adjust based on the available space. Okay, so and the same thing. So in the last thing I did, let's say you can control how much it needs to grow. Like so whenever you are doing something flex, if there is space left, this flex grow will define how much like they should grow to expand or fill up the empty space. So for the layout to look good and to look better. So this is what flex grow defines. In the same way, where there is flex grow, there is flex shrink. So so flex shrink will only work if these things are the flex items are larger than the flex boxes. So sometimes the items are big and they might be like going outside. So in those cases, you can control which items to shrink to fit inside the box. So for that you need a width, because I said okay. and for each box I put 300 pixels. So but if you don't do flex shrink, so you can see that these boxes are adjusting, but if they are not like they are not of 300 pixels, but you don't want everything to shrink. So we want only the two end, that is what I say is 2n is even, so you want only the even ones to shrink to reduce the space, to make the space gap for the bigger ones. So you can see only 2 and 4 shrink to make space for 1 and 3, which occupy 300 pixels. And these also should have 300 pixels because there is no enough space. These two shrink to provide space for the remaining flex items. So that's the whole flex thing. So again, when you are writing flex, generally you use flex direction and then flex wrap. So this flex basis also you should use when you how you want to control the size of the boxes. And flex grow and flex shrink will determine, let's say, when even after using this, if you have some space remaining, or sometimes the space is less, which items to which items to shrink, or which items to grow. These are things which control these behaviors. Now, so again, I said flex is a one dimension. Either it can be row or column. So so that's one of the thing with flex. Now people wanted something to build layouts like this layout. If you look at this massage layout, you can see there's a top navigation bar, there's a left, and then the right. So people needed something which is two dimension, like kind of chessboard, where kind of boxes, and they can put anything in those boxes, or any number of sizes it can have. So they came up with this thing called grid. So grid is two by two. It has both rows and then columns. So you can define how many rows you want. You can define how many columns you want, and all the things. So the basic example is pretty simple. You just have to if you want to arrange it in a two dimension, it's called grid. Again, simple. If I make it flex, you can see it comes. Yeah, this is a flex. You are working on it. So I'll just make it grid. You can see it's a two dimension. So in this container, there are 6 items. So I made for this parent, I made the display as grid. So all the children here will fit as a grid. Imagine grid is kind of your chessboard. So there is rows and there is columns. You can define this property for grid graph, each of margins and all. If you give grid graph, it will give uniform gap between all the grid items. You can see it looks like this. So there's a gap between the grid items. So that's why I made this background black and this yellow. Now, so here you can define how many columns you need, how many rows you need, and what is the size of each rows if you want. If you don't want, if you give auto, it will automatically adjust. So, but let's say you want 4 columns. So here I am saying 3 columns. I have 6 items. So I am saying 3 columns. I'm saying the like the width as auto. That means they're equally distributed. Automatically it gets adjusted. Now if I make one more auto, you can say now I'm making it 4 columns. You can see this has become 4 columns, and these template rows I'm just giving a height. If you don't give height and say auto, it will have the automatically, like whatever the size of the content it has, it will have. So you should at least define the column so that the rows can get automatically adjusted. So if you keep on adding more things, you can see these will be nicely arranged in a grid fashion. So if you start adding more divs, so again, so because you define the layout, you should be able to add any number of things. So okay. my grid got filled. Say fix pixels. Okay, so there's okay. These are the grid items. So if I make this from this to this, you can see I made a 3x3 grid 9, so I can see 9 items. So the rest will not be visible because I made a 3x3 grid. And again, you can control the height of each of the one. So let's say you want to make something like this. You can see. Okay, now if you remove the extra things, it will automatically be there. Now because this third one you put auto, there is no height. So again, you can keep controlling whatever the way in which you want the items to be. In the same way, if you put instead of auto here, if you put 100 pixels, you can see this will be of 100 pixels, and the rest will automatically adjust. And here, if you want to like put like percentages should also work. Yeah, 10%, 20%. You can see you are able to build any kind of layouts which you want using the grid. So again, so it's a two-dimension thing. So whatever the things you are previously Flex is arranging in one dimension, now it's two dimensional. So you have to provide both those. So this is a syntax for providing the columns, grid template columns. So how many columns you need? I mean, there should be a space, and you can define the width, and if you don't want to define anything automatically adjust, you can use like auto. In the same way, the rows, you can use how many rows you want for this grid. So I need 3 rows. I put three items, and then you can set auto, and then the middle one I put as 100 pixels, and then if I add 3 more this nothing inside it. So let me give some. If I put the numbers, it will automatically come. So based on the size of the content, it will automatically adjust. So you are able to build these kind of layouts based on your requirement using grids. So again, these are 2 dimension. Let's say you want to build a chessboard, you need 8x8. So you don't have to use floats and all. If you just put 64 divs, and then you put so building a chessboard now is pretty easy. So all you have to do is just start with this. So it needs, you don't even have to provide this. It needs 64. First I'm going to create 8. Okay. So now for this I'm going to say, let's say I want to build a particular width chessboard, let's say 80 pixels. Now I'm going to use the same because I want them to be square. Now I need 8 columns and 8 rows. So my 8 columns are here, 8 rows are here. So all I have to do is now 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So you can see my chessboard is there, and so you can use content div and child even, let's say, background. Yeah. I mean, you need to use some more logic to make it uh, like, like proper chest, because like from here you need to change for the second row, you need to change. So you need to write more logic to make them uh, like work like a chessboard. But you can see that almost the layout is there. So with very minimal things, with nothing but like divs, you can see now your HTML code looks very simple, and your CSS is also not so much. You can see like with very minimal effect, you are able to achieve a layout which will take you a lot of time to achieve. So you can understand now how easy it will become to build a layout like periodic tables and all. So it's all, if you define a grid, it will automatically be there in place. So that's one of the thing which you can do with grid. Okay, so the next thing is grid area and then grid template. So these are the two things which will make your grid looks in a completely different fashion. You can arrange the items in whatever the way you want, irrespective of the HTML code. So you can see now all the items are there from 1 to 16, but you can see how different this grid is looking. You can have the advantage or the control in your hands to make sure that grids look in whatever the fashion you want. Again, combine this with media queries, which you are going to learn in the evening. The grid becomes much more powerful. You can see if you want to build these kind of layouts, you can see there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 using grid template. I arrange them in such a fashion so that without much floats, without anything. So you can see 1, 2 is here, 3, 5, 4. You can see I played around with the order also. So that's the advantage grid gives you. So you can build outer layouts using grid, so using this grid template, or if you want to place something in a completely different fashion, you can use grid areas also. So let's look at what grid areas are. So first I defined a grid, pretty basic, 16, nothing changing. So but so without anything, this is how my grid looks. But I want the second item to like to start from a particular row, and I want it to expand it to 2 columns. So grid, like you remember how col span and row span works? It's a kind of same way in which the grid area works. So you should provide the start where it should start, and where which row to start, which column to start. So it is starting at so you can say, if I say item 2, I'm saying item 2, let's say I'm saying grid area. Okay, start at row 1 and the column 2, and either you can provide the n number, or you can say how many columns or rows to span. If I say I should spawn 2 rows and 2 columns, you can see it gone to 2 rows and 2 columns. So now it started at 1 first row, second column, and it went to 2 rows, and then it went to 2 columns, and you can see 3 is again here, 4 is here. So because on this Excel it is taking up this space, so the next grid items will automatically flow wherever the next space is, and then they will automatically just. So that's what I have done. Now in the same way, now you can see, you can understand like how these things are getting affected. Now you can overlay one each other also using this. So because next, now you can see, look at item 4. You are starting at second row, first column, and you want to end it before the 4th row. So this is the second row, this is the 3rd row. So before 4th row it is ending. You can use this syntax also. and you want to span it to 4 columns. That means all the columns you want to take away. So it is, you can see this is coming around all the things. Now for the fifth, you want it to put it inside like this between. So you can say you should start at third column. This is a third column which port is already occupying. Now you can say you should start at second and third rows, second column. So 3, 2, and you can either use the syntax of span, or you can use the syntax of where it should end. So it should end before fifth, or you can say if I put span 3, it will take 3 rows. It will take 3 rows, and if I put span 1, it will take 1 row, or you can just say till 4th. That means it is going to take only 1, or if it's going to take 5 till 5th row, it is going to be there. So it's starting with 3rd and it's ending just before 5th row. So it is going to start from 3 to 5, and again the span is for the columns. So if you think this is confusing, you can write it in the short and in the short note, long notation. I'm just telling you all the short notation because the code looks compact. Again, the long syntax is yeah, this is the long syntax. So you can either try this one: grid row start, grid column start, grid row, and grid column end. So it becomes 4 lines. So that's why instead of 4 lines, I'm writing it in 1 line. So if it's confusing, you can again I will write this. So it's a bit more lengthy. So that's why I personally prefer to write short notation. So you can say grid row start 3, grid column start 2. Okay, now again grid row and 5 and before 5th row, and grid column, and let's say where I want it's before 1, 2, 4. Let's say if I put 4. You can see you can write this long notation also, or you can use this short notation. This is the same syntax. It's the thing which lets you write in you are writing a less amount of code. So if you are confusing, you can directly use it: row start, column start, row and column end, and you achieve the same kind of layout using things. Again, I will keep this, and you can see what are the kind of layouts you are able to achieve using grid areas. So you can place the boxes anywhere you want to, like in the grid, and that's the advantage of it. Now that's all about grid areas. The next thing you are going to talk about is grid templates. So these are pretty interesting. So again, it will make you build. Again, if it becomes very confusing to you, you can use grid templates. This is one very short notation. Like again, you can see this. I created 6 divs. Again, the display is again grid. I put the columns auto, or let's you can put auto here, because you're in the bottom in the template, you are going to define how they are going to look like. So you can create any name you want. You can provide how they want to look in the grid. So remember I said grid is a 2 cross 2. So I'm saying first 3 AAA. That means anything, and you should give the names for all the divs. I'm going to show you how. So this is how the template will look: AAA, BCC, BEE, BD. So that means, and I gave the item 1 grid area A. So A is item 1, and it should take 3 columns in the first row. B is grid area B. It should take 3 rows of the first column. And then in the same way, you can see this how I arrange it. So you can arrange it in any fashion. Let's say if you want very simple fashion. So this is the number of, this is the columns which you want to put. This is the things which you want to put. Again, if you want to put B here now, and C, E, and D. Now you can see 1 is here, 2 is here, because for 2 I gave B. You can give any names. You can say okay. You can say bottom. So if you say for item D, if you give bottom, you should write for the 4, wherever D is there, you should write bottom. Nobody's, so in this way you can easily it's much more readable and much more organizable. So by just looking the by just looking the grid template, you can see how you can imagine how the grid will look like. Again, if you want, it should be a rectangle one. If you try to make it L shape, it will not work. You can see if you make it C, it goes haywire. So it should be a rectangle. Again, so E or you can provide E here and C here. So basically, you are just providing the layout for it, and then you are able to change it. Again, I will bring back E here, put C here. I mean, you can play around and make it look any fashion you want. It's just the human readable format. Again, you can see this is there. BB, so B is here. There is then E is having this much, and you can see the numbers. So based on it, you are able to arrange it in any fashion. It's like you marking you on the grid. Okay, here put A, put B, put C. Here I want D and D for these 2 columns. So that's the way you can use any names. Now you can say it's much more readable when you are writing the grid template, and you can arrange it in any fashion you want to arrange it. Let's say if you want to arrange in let's try to build this code pen itself using the grid areas. So you need 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's say you need 4. I'm going to take 4. Okay, so let's use this base code. So I'm going to write in much readable fashion. So let's say I'm going to top this one as top, and then right, left 1, left 2. Okay, so I need 1 and 1. A 1 I'm going to call it top. 2 I'm going to call left 1, left 2, and this one I'm going to call it as right. So now I'm going to use this thing for building the there. So top should have 2. So I'm going to say top top. Now and don't need this. Now I need this only 2 cross 2. Sorry, I mean 3 cross 2. So there is right, left 1, 2, and let's say give a height 300 pixels, and for left 2 I give a height of 300 pixels. So now you can see you build the same layout of the code pen which you are using. There's a top navigation bar which is 1, there's left and right. Sorry, right. This is the right area, and then you build the same kind of layout using grid template. So top, left 1, left 2, right is occupying both of the things. If you want one more, if you want, let's say you want to build this kind of layout, now you have to provide one more item. Let's say I'm going to make it as 5. Now, item 5, you can add it here. Item 5, grid area left 3. I'm going to height 200 pixels. I'll make it 200. It might be. Now, instead of this layout, there is one more row that got added. So I'm going to add that row. Left 3. Yeah, you can see now you're able to achieve this layout with very minimal changes. So this is the first left 1, left 2, left 3, and right box, and there's top. Top is this top bar. So you can play around with this. It is much more readable, much more like convenient to define in this fashion, and you can use the grid things to build whatever the ways in which you want to build the template.